So I just finished Dinghai Funsheng Records Book 2, and it's becoming one of my comfort reads. It's climbing up there on my list of favorite danmei, and I'm just really enjoying this series. Now, first, for one thing, I think a whole lot of people have already talked about this, but the book is small. This is the first book, and it is like so small compared to book 1. And I think when Seven Seas, they see that a series might be really popular, they'll start releasing shorter books. This is what I'm assuming, because they also did the same thing to Husky and his White Cat Shizun. So I'm just assuming that is what's going on, because this book is so small. And QJJ, the Stat series is not small at all, but for some reason they decided to release this one as a very tiny book. But that is kind of annoying because I'm a fast reader and I like big books. But that's also probably why we're getting another Dinghai Funsheng Records, the book 3, in December, because they're making the book so small. They're releasing more through the year. So I don't know, I would rather have a bigger book. And also they did change the artwork from book 1. So book 2 had completely different artwork, and I had known that going into the book, so I was kind of aware that the artwork was going to be different. And at first when I saw the artwork, I was just like, I don't know how I feel about this. As I was reading the story and really getting into it, and I kind of fell in love with the artwork. Like, the artwork for book 2 is very beautiful. So how do I compare it to book 1? As of right now, I kind of like them equally. I still don't understand why Seven Seas changed the art design, but I do love the artwork for book 2. So I will show some of it later on. I'm trying to keep the beginning part spoiler free, at least for me. I don't really want to know what the artwork is inside of the book until I'm like getting to that point. Even when I'm reading the book, I don't really want to look at the artwork until I'm at that scene, because I don't want any spoilers. So I'll show you the artwork later on. So in general, like I said, I really love this book. I really love the descriptions, the way the author describes a lot of the settings. It's just very beautiful, but also this book has a lot of like really scary kind of horror elements, and the author is really good at describing that. Like, as a writer myself, I'm sitting there like trying to like taking notes. And I also still love the characters. These two, Xiangshu and Qinxing, they are definitely the kind of characters that I really enjoy reading. Their dialogue is just fun to read, and it's kind of interesting how Qinxing is written, because they could make him this like really like doe-eyed baby face kind of naive kind of character, because he spent most of his, well, all of his life, well, I guess because he spent most of his life like secluded up in the mountains with only his shizun, so he doesn't know much about the world. So it would be very easy to make him like this really naive kind of character. And for me, I don't particularly enjoy reading those kind of characters, so it's really nice that they created someone with a backbone. Like, he's like, Xiangshu is coming at him with his attitude, and Qinxing is giving him all the attitude, and that is just fun. And it's also interesting hearing Qinxing curse, because I'm like, you grew up in the mountains, where'd you learn to curse like that? But it's just fun. Their dynamic is fun, and it's just really interesting. So I'm sorry if I sound a bit congested. Seasonal allergies is like kicking my butt, so like, it is what it is, and allergy medicine is expensive, so sorry about that. So from now on, we're going to be talking about spoilers. So if you don't want to know spoilers, feel free to like move on, watch another video. But we're going to be talking about some spoilers that happen in Dinghai Funsheng Records. So a good chunk of this book is Qinxing and Xiangshu learning more about each other, and their, I guess, stripping off their like walls, or at least Xiangshu is stripping off his walls so they can actually see each other and really like connect with each other. And that was just really sweet to witness. So I do really enjoy slow burn stories. I prefer romance to be a subplot, so I don't particularly mind that there's not a whole lot of like movement happening in their relationship, because it makes me appreciate a lot of the small things that happen. All the like casual hugging and everything that these two do Shu is just, it's really funny, especially since these two, they fight a whole lot, they argue a whole lot. So for them to just be that comfortable where they're just like casually hugging each other, where they're sharing beds and they're sharing baths and they're just like so casual about it, and it's just funny. But those scenes are just so adorable, and I'm just like, I'm just getting fed, because like we're not getting like a big confession scene or anything. So a lot of those like really smaller intimate moments that those two have just feel way more impactful. And it's also interesting because even in this book, in book 2, it showed that Shu isn't really good at people like getting into his personal space, getting really close with them. So going back to Shing, well, I mentioned before that he is not really naive. He is kind of naive about the world, but he's not like this doe-eyed kind of innocent of all things kind of like character, which I do like. But his naivety does kind of show up, I guess call it casual racism, with how he views the Hu as barbarians and savages, uneducated, and Shu, who is half Hu, and he calls him out on that a lot. So when you get into book 2, like Shing is not doing that as often, because he is now seeing the Hu as just people like everyone else. And another thing that comes up often, assuming this is because Shing has spent most of his time alone, he's not used to like talking to people about certain things, because a good chunk of this book is basically him deciding things on his own and then just doing it and not talking to Shu about any of it. And he's just deciding things for Shu. And like Shu gets really irritated with him about that, because he keeps doing that, keeps doing things on his own. And Shu keeps asking him, do you trust me? Do you think so little of me? And like all this kind of stuff, trying to figure out why he keeps doing this. And eventually towards the end of the book, Shing actually gets why Shu is so like irritated with him, because Shing, he just keeps leaving. Like for instance, towards the, I guess kind of the middle of the book, Shing notices that his presence is causing some like issues in like Shu's like tribes and with his people. So Shing is just like, I'm gonna leave, and he didn't like discuss this with Shu, and he just left. And Shu was mad, and he decided for himself that Shu shouldn't be his protector, because he was the great Chanyu, so he can't just go off being someone's protector. And again, he never asked Shu about that. Fortunately, they did talk about that. I find like the character development in this book to be like very good. And also with Shu, we get to learn a lot more about him now that he's outside the Great Wall and he's with his own people. And we learn that he cares deeply about his own people. And he's also not this really like cold, like rough kind of Cinderella kind of character. And that he's very emotional and he's very nice and everything, but he just can't be that way because he's king. Or at least he feels like he can't be that way because he is king. It kind of makes sense, all the lengths he went to starting in book 1, about how he would go out of his way to protect Shing. Like Shu was on death row, he was about to be executed, and he was so weak that he wouldn't have been able to get himself out of prison. So Shing showed up at the right time, he got him out of prison, and he nursed him back to health. And like Shu was not like a monster, so obviously he would really appreciate something like that. At least my guess is that he was like very protective and watching over Shing from the beginning, because Ching saved his life. And I'm also, again, this is my thought, is that Shu might have actually liked Shing like way at the beginning of the book. Like he just didn't like the way Shing was treating him. So a lot of this book is you just learning more about both of the characters, and it was just such a fun read. And it also got me thinking, because eventually Shu is going to have to find out that Shing is going to die in a couple of years. By the end of book 2, he still hasn't told him that. And I'm just like Shu is not going to take that very well, especially all the deaths that the two of them have like experience just in their lives. Like, at least if I'm remembering correctly, Shu had to kill his own father, and then in book 2 he had to kill his own, this person was as close to him as a brother, and this person betrayed him, like his Anda. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that right, but it's on. They were so close. Like when Shu went away, he trusted this man to stay and look after his people, and this man, he slaughtered everyone. He gave them up to the drought fiends, and then he tried to kill Shing, and like Shu had to like fight him and then stab him, and then he had to like bury him, and like all the deaths that they've had to like go through, that's gotta be rough. And then Shu is gonna have to deal with like Shing is gonna die in a couple of years. Like I kind of feel bad for them. Like this series, I didn't expect this series to get so dark. There is so much depth in this series. It's like from the dog to the concubine, and then like there's just so much death, so much sadness in this series. And like going back to the artwork, what kind of made me fall in love with the artwork for book 2 was this scene here. Basically, this image here like absolutely perfectly encapsulates what was happening, because up until this point it was just one thing after another. Then they went back to Chilatron, and like it was a mass, and the way they described it was so horrifying, but like so many people were like brutalized. You had women, children, men, everyone was dead. And there was this one description that really stuck out to me where he said that the water had thawed and then froze, so there were like bodies frozen in the water, and there was just massacre everywhere. And then you had that image, and it was just like a punch in the gut. Like that image after all the death, it was just so effective of just making you feel how like helpless and dark that the book had gotten. And another image was this one. Like this image is so beautiful. Like I would really love to have this like as a poster I can hang on my wall. Like I really love this image. This one in particular, it got me to really fall in love with the artwork. So as much as I love the artwork for book 1, I really do love the artwork for book 2. Like it is really gorgeous. But this would make a very interesting like donghua, and I know it already has a donghua, and I've watched it, Epic of Divinity Light, and I've watched it, and I would love for it to get to like a revamp, because the donghua has this like 3D graphics which it's fine, but I don't love. I would prefer like it was made like Grandmaster of Demonic Cultivation or Heaven Official's Blessing, but I don't know. I don't think that was going to happen, because I think the donghua has maybe like 1 or 2 seasons, and there's been no like update on it. But who knows, maybe if the book is popular enough, we'll get another series. But as of right now, more than anything, this book has me wanting to like pick up the manhwa. And I think for right now there are only 2 volumes. As of recording this volume doesn't have a manhwa adaptation yet. I would really love to like see all of this, especially like a lot of the battles and the fight scenes and all the magic that they use, especially Shu's sword and how it just transforms into whatever he needs. I would really love to be able to actually see that in the battles for this. Like the battles for this had me like sucked in, and there's like a good pacing to it, a good ebb and flow to it, but also just the sheer like epic anime style kind of battles that they have. I would really love to see this animated. Climax, the battle scenes, they take a good chunk of the ending of the book, but because the way the pacing is, it's just there's battle and then there's a time of rest, and then there's a battle and then there's a time of rest. So it's not like this one long battle after battle after battle, which can be very tiring. So the pacing for the battles is really good. From my experience, most danmei isn't really good at writing fight scenes. Like I know a lot of people are talking about the Heaven Official's Blessing like Gundam scene, which is, it was a choice and it was not my favorite. But the climaxes for Dinghai Funsheng Records have been fairly good, and I have enjoyed it. And that ending scene where Xiao Xin was just wielding the claws to like rip heaven and earth, I love the way that was described. Like it was literally like tearing the world apart, that he was trying to avenge Liu Ying. And I loved that. But danmei does this a whole lot, especially with something like this book and QJJ when there are a lot of characters, it can become kind of confusing. But a general rule when you're writing is that two characters shouldn't have similar sounding names, and generally you should avoid having characters' names start with the same letters because it's easy for them to get confused. In this book, there is the Xiangshu and Xiaoshen, and the amount of times I had gotten those two confused. Like there was an accent and Xiaoshen was doing something, but for me, I read it as Xiangshu, and I was getting confused like, wait, what's going on with Xiangshu? And then I had to read it again. It's just like, oh, that's not Xiangshu, that's Xiaoshen. I had to slow down and keep reminding myself that those were two different characters, and I'm wondering if that's on purpose because Chen Xin keeps mentioning that Xiao Sheng could kind of be like Xiang Shu's kid. You see how confusing it is to just say those names back to back. And because of Dinghai Funsheng Records, I keep telling myself that I want to do this, but I haven't yet. But because this book, I kind of want to look into like the Han and the Hu conflict because there's just a whole lot of that going on in the book, and because I don't know Chinese history and I don't know the background for that, I feel like there's some things that I'm missing. So I do really want to look into that to understand like the different conflicts for this book, because for danmei, the audience is Chinese, so they're kind of assuming that you know certain things, and because I'm American and I don't know certain things, but I like doing research. But I am really looking forward to book 3, and I'm kind of sad that I was done, and I was both speeding up this book but also trying to slow down because I really wanted to know how it was going to end, but I didn't want to finish the book because I was enjoying it so much. So I'm really looking forward to book 3. So have any of you checked out Dinghai Funsheng Records? Let me know what you thought. One quick thing before you go. I created a fantasy world building template. It's an editable template. It has 100+ questions to ask yourself as you create your fantasy world. It has space for image inspiration, for research notes. The template is available on my Etsy store. Link in description. Till next time.